Good afternoon, everybody. Thank you for this opportunity to be here today to speak to you about our work at Daily Maverick, and more specifically, our work as Our Burning Planet, our specialist climate crisis reporting unit. It seems a bit ironic to be here to be speaking about covering the climate crisis when we've traveled some 30 hours and 20,000 kilometers to get here. I guess I'll have to plant a small forest to offset that carbon footprint. For those of you who don't know Daily Maverick, it's one of the largest media organizations in South Africa at the moment. It started in 2009 as a startup of 5 people, and now we're sitting at 120 staff members. This at a time when we've had industry shrinkage of up to half our journalist cohort in the country. So it's now considered a medium-sized organization. Daily Maverick is a mission-driven organization. Our mission is to defend truth, and it's that mission that allows it to be loved by its readers and revered and feared by the politicians and political leaders that it covers. Now, Our Burning Planet is a subsect of Daily Maverick. It's focused on the climate crisis, and this was really born out of our, about 3 years ago, South Africa and Cape Town particularly faced a once in a 628-year drought. And we realized at that point that we can no longer continue to cover the climate crisis as a nice to have, as an addition to our editorial coverage. We needed to be responsible and take efforts to ensure that our readers were aware of what was happening with the climate crisis. And so we embarked on a process to figure out what exactly we needed to do. And so before we even started with any reporting, we commissioned a study by the Wits University Global Change Institute to help us focus our areas of coverage, knowing that with resources being so limited, with so much to cover, we needed to ensure that whatever we did, we needed to make an impact. And so this study was done by the Wits Institute, as I say, and they come up with 5 areas of focus for our editorial. That being food, water, energy, human health and well-being, and ecosystem damage and biodiversity loss. In addition, the team, once we brought ourselves together, we decided there were 3 other areas that we should also focus on. That is global health, water, air, and land pollution, and corruption. Ocean health would fall into the water, air, and land pollution. And so with that, we took the study, the data from the study, and then a very, very specific editorial plan, and went out to look for funding for this work. Because again, the resources are quite stretched and there's lots to do. We managed to convince one of the big banks in the country to support our work, and they've given us 4 million rand, which is about the equivalent to 250,000 US, to do a year's work. And so it's been a year since we've been doing this. But in order to ensure that, again, what is our impact, we decided as a team, Daily Maverick has this mission of defend truth. What is our vision as a reporting unit? And that is simply for members of the public, civil society, business leadership, and government to better understand the impact and urgency of responding to the climate crisis. That all sounds very activism-y, you know, and there's lots of debate about whether journalists should be activists and the like. But Our Burning Planet is not an activist effort. It's rather using high-end journalism to address humanity's greatest challenge, and with the end result being social impact and change. The team, something different that we've also tried, is to be more collaborative across different disciplines within the organization. In the past, you'd have the business, you'd have product, and you'd have editorial. What we've done with setting up this unit is to bring everybody, skill sets from across these different sections, to input in the way we do our journalism. So we've got people from editorial, we've got project managers, we've got marketing, we've got newsletter, we've got product developers, all influencing what we do. Importantly, we have 8 journalists, and this potentially makes us one of the biggest climate crisis reporting units on the continent, and potentially the Southern Hemisphere, Southern Africa rather than the Southern Hemisphere. These journalists are made up of silverbacks. Those are older journalists who have the experience and they've been there and they've done that, and younger journalists. And we think this is important because you've got to have a knowledge share and cascading of information that goes from senior to younger. Key to our work is monitoring. Are we actually achieving those goals? Are we focusing on the areas that we said we would do so? Are we meeting our expectations as a unit and our expectations to our reader? And so we use different methods to check this. We engage in reader engagement. We do reader surveys. Is our work landing? Is there a level of understanding? Are we changing the impact of how people are thinking? Some of our future ideas is to create some product that will help us track that impact without us having to physically, go back to each story each time to see. And then we look at what are the macro efforts, macro tracking and the macro impacts of what we're doing. Has our journalism resulted in any change? Are there policies that are changing? Are we preventing certain things from happening? And so this is what we find. In just a year of our work, we've managed to expose abuse of the mandatory environmental authority process and prevented power ships from docking at our shores, despite our energy crisis. The Salati Game Reserve, which is on the border of the Kruger National Park, there were plans to mine that area. It's ecologically sensitive, but our relentless reporting basically saw the withdrawal of that mining right, preventing the mining of this particular area. We also understand that the climate crisis can be seen as doom and gloom, and our readers, feel it. They're living it. They experience it. So what can we do to empower them to make even incremental changes? It's that butterfly effect. If each one of us does something, the change is immeasurable. So we feature initiatives of what our readers are doing in their personal capacity. We give advice to others on how you can basically make a start and make that slighter change. And essentially what it is inspiring others to take similar action. So reach and engagement. We understand that our readers aren't all going to read this long-form journalism. If any of you have engaged with Daily Maverick, it is long-form journalism. Our stories are several thousand words long. They are complex and often can be seen as inaccessible. And so with Our Burning Planet, we recognize that not everybody is at the same level. People are engaging with the content at different levels of understanding, so we need to meet them where they are. And when I say meet them where they are, I'm talking about their level of understanding, but also in the way they want to engage with the content. What kind of platforms do they want to engage with? Not everybody is coming directly to the site, so how do we actually get them to read the content? So once a week we put out a newsletter, goes out on a Wednesday afternoon, goes out to 25,000 subscribers, and has an average open rate of some 40%. I'm told this is quite high in industry standards. And we play around with how we do that. So some weeks it might appear as an RSS feed of some of the key stories from the week. Others we theme it based on what our coverage has been. We host webinars. And I think everybody in the room over COVID has done some kind of virtual events. And we're slowly getting back into in-person. But over the course of the past year, we've managed to do 11 webinars. These are hosted by our journalists interacting with experts in different sectors. On average, we get about 550 people in the room to watch these webinars. We record them, and they're available afterwards on YouTube, and those, on average, get about 500 additional views. We also write an article, as if we were reporting on the webinar, that gets shared on the site, and those get about 7,500 page views. Importantly, again, we're trying to grow the ecosystem of the newsletter and its reach, and so each webinar has a call to action banner for newsletter signups. Daily Maverick doesn't do things normally. So in the middle of COVID pandemic, we decided we're going to go retro, and we're going to start a newspaper. They thought we were crazy, but you should understand Daily Maverick, the name is there. Within the newspaper, we have 5 pages every week dedicated to the climate crisis and the natural world. In addition, a kids section pull-out called Maverick Kids occasionally has climate crisis features in an accessible way that kids can learn from, can get themselves. Often this is used as part of their schoolwork. So, we're meeting again, where the audience, where they are, level of understanding. It always goes back to that. Again, social media forms part of our strategy to get our information out there. And yes, we post our stuff to Twitter and Facebook and the usual and the long length, but we've also realized, again, how can we engage with different audiences? We've developed what we called snackable news. And this is really short, shareable mobile video trailers of our stories that are then clicked. You can go to the longer version of it. So what is the data telling us? Over the past year, our average number of articles that we started publishing has increased. We're currently sitting at an average of about 80 articles a month, just focused on the climate crisis. The tracking of our themes shows that we can learn from where we are doing well, where we are not doing well, what we need to do to reach it. This graph shows you the number of the themes that we cover. You'll see that the numbers differ, but that's because themes can be across multiple stories. The orange line shows our reader engagement. But what we've noticed from this is global heating, even though we are producing a number of stories, our readers aren't engaging with that. So now we have a task. Why is that? Why are they not, what are we doing that is not resonating with them, and how can we change that? And this is the benefit of tracking what you're doing and looking at the different data sets that you have. Over the past year, our audience growth has basically quadrupled. From something like 150,000 a month, we're now sitting at 450,000 a month. And that correlates with the page views. The big spikes that you're seeing in that graph indicate big investigations that we've done. We've noticed that when we do an investigation into climate crisis, it correlates with the Daily Maverick reader and their interest in big investigations, and so our readership spikes at that point. So before I leave you, I want to ask you a question. In all that you do and all that you embark on doing, I think the key question that you have to ask yourself is, what is your journalism for? How can you use your platform to make a change?